Now, a few videos ago, I told you that if you see black spots, little black dots like this on your leaves, that means there's a worm somewhere on your plant that is eating your plant. And lo and behold, this little guy right here, picked him off, and he is now going to go away. So as I mentioned in a recent video, I have a couple of plants that are showing signs of a disease. This one looks like some sort of a fungus. I forgot which this one is. I've seen it before. I can't remember the name of it now. But I've got this plant and one other plant that is suffering from what looks like these symptoms here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and spray this down with a concoction of neem oil, Dr. Bronner's soap, which is a natural soap, and a little bit of borax. And we'll see if that doesn't help it. The other plant that's suffering from what seems like a different ailment is this one right here, and it has some of the same symptoms as the other one, but it's just more pronounced. There's pitting on the bottom of the plant, on the bottom of the leaves of the plant, and there's it's like there's aphids attacking it all over. There's ants all over it because the aphids are there. The aphids, I believe, secrete some sort of something or other that the ants like, but it's just not looking good at all. The fruit so far is looking okay. It doesn't look to be too damaged yet. It may produce fruit, but the growth compared to all of the other plants in my garden is definitely stunted. And what I'm going to do is do the same thing. I'm going to spray this down with some neem oil, Dr. Bronner's Salsud's soap, natural soap, and some borax. And we'll see if that does not... listen, there's nothing to lose at this point. In my opinion, this plant is done for. But if for some reason it can come back, and I'll keep it fertilized, I'll keep the neem oil and the rabbit manure fertilizer, to the roots. I'll keep pouring that in down there, and we'll see if it can produce something. If any of these fruit will come to ripen, and then we'll be able to pick them. But in my opinion, this plant is done. I have a large amount of pinto beans that are coming in nicely here, and so I'm looking forward to harvesting these. These will be here for a while. They're not ready to be picked yet, but these will dry. These pods will dry, and I'll be able to harvest all these beans. And of course, I'll have my kids help me on that for sure. This is a small patch of sorghum that I'm growing just for seed. I did not get my 1/4 acre planted this year, but this will be seed for next year. Just these few plants that you see here will produce enough seed to plant easily a 1/4 acre. When this gets up to maturity, I will show you just how big these seed heads are. They're fantastic. I don't know if you can see them, but there's a few squash bugs down there. So the squash bugs finally decided to go up. We're going to go over a number of things in this video, but we'll start with them. This is the neem cake that has been dissolved into this water. It's a 1/2 gallon jug, and I put the neem cake clods, I don't know how else to describe them, inside of this 1/2 gallon. I filled it up with water, and then I kept stirring it. Over the last couple of days, it's been sitting in here. And it's very oily. If you look on top, there's an oil slick on top of the water. And so just like the neem oil, it's got these properties, but unlike the neem oil that you spray on top of a plant, the neem cake is poured into the soil. It acts as a fertilizer, and it is taken up by the roots of the plant and then emanated out from the plant. And it's maybe one of the reasons I think I've had a really good year with pest insects. Now, when my squash was coming up, at the base of the plant, I was for a while spraying neem oil, natural soap, and the borax, and it basically kept the squash bugs away. However, we just had a big rain the other day, and it rained a good amount over a couple of days, and we got the rain we needed, thank goodness. But that washed all that topical application away. And now the squash bugs, boom, show up, all on schedule. So we're gonna go ahead and put that back. And what I do is I keep a separate container like this. I keep a separate container. I just have it labeled neem. And it's just a concoction of neem oil, a natural soap like Dr. Bronner's. And I know every time I mention Dr. Bronner's, always someone in the comments tells me how bad of a company that is. I get it. They're woke. I won't buy their products ever again, but I have a good amount of their products already stored up, and so I'm not going to throw it away. But yes, I will buy other things besides Dr. Bronner's because they are woke. There's lots of other natural soaps out there. It doesn't matter. Find a natural soap, mix it with the neem oil. It allows the neem oil to emulsify inside of whatever liquid that you have inside of a container like this. And then if you put like a tablespoon of borax in with that gallon or 2 gallon jug, that borax acts as an outright poison to whatever insects may start chewing on your plant. And there was I think that was a squash bug that just fell on me right there. Good grief. They're out. Well, it's time to put on the hurt. So the neem oil, the natural soap, and the borax, which again acts as a poison for them. And so I will put that out on that plant here quickly. Some of you guys asked me about the ground fabric that I have. If you do any research on ground fabrics, you will see all kinds of reviews out there that say how horrible it is and you don't want to use it and it's bad for the environment and all of this nonsense. And what most of those reviews, if you read the reviews, what most of those reviews are referring to is if you put ground fabric down and you leave it down and you put, you know, mulch on top or other things on top and then expect weeds not to grow in it, it will fail. You will always have weeds. Now what we do every year for our gardens is I put this ground, you know, fabric down. It's labeled. I have spray painted marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of it, and I have the 3-foot rows. So it's a lot of area. And so I pull that ground fabric up every year in the wintertime after my garden is done, after I'm done doing everything. I pull it up, I roll it up. Me and the kids come out here, we roll up that ground fabric and we set it aside, and then we begin to do our lasagna layering. Okay, I have said this many times on my channel. I used to do the Back to Eden, and Back to Eden does work, but you have to keep up with it. If it falls by the wayside, you're going to get weeds. And even with Back to Eden, you know, doing it on a pretty regular basis, you're going to get weeds. This is a much better job. So I lasagna layer, I pull up my ground fabric, I lasagna layer, I put down hay, I put down straw, I put down rice hulls, I put down mulch, I put down leaves, I put down whatever I can find to put down, wood chippings. I put everything down and I layer that down, and then, you know, sheep manure, I put all that down, and then coffee grounds, I put all that down. And then I put my ground fabric back, okay, the following spring before I plant. Okay, I get all that stuff down. And then I put my ground fabric down, and instead of using the 6-inch, a lot of times you'll find 6-inch spikes or ground staples, whatever you want to call them, to put your fabric down with. Don't use the 6 inches. If your ground is the way it's supposed to be, nice and soft and supple, you're going to want at least 10 inches. Okay, if you put down 6 inches, your ground fabric, the next wind that comes by, the next thunderstorm that comes by, is going to blow that to the next county. And it'll be gone or destroyed or whatever. Get caught up in a barbed wire fence or something. So get the 10-inch ground fabric staples. Okay, the 10-inch. I've said it before also on my channel that your ground, let me get this back in the dirt there. When you walk on this right here, right now, it feels like you're walking on a waterbed. It should feel like you're walking on a waterbed. If you're walking on your garden and it feels hard and dense, you're doing something wrong. In the springtime, you can put your hand in any one of those holes out there and pull up earthworms, a whole handful of earthworms. That tells me that my ground is living. There's all kinds of microbe and bioactivity going on underneath that ground tarp, underneath that ground fabric. So if you're walking on your ground fabric and you don't feel that give like you would on like one of those hard water beds, you're doing something wrong. In my garden, I have all that microbial activity, and I have all that mushroom mycelium activity. All that activity is down there and working, and it's keeping the ground alive. And it's because of lasagna layering. There's plenty of food down there for all that biodiversity to enjoy. And so that's why I do the lasagna layering. I know a lot of people who pull these tarps up at the end of the year and their ground is rock hard. You're doing it wrong. You want your ground to be alive. And that's how you know it'll grow stuff. Now, the other thing that people ask me about with this, and I know it's always in the comments below too, is Well, Zach, you've got plastic on your garden. You're putting phthalates in your garden. Don't you know you're going to kill yourself? Okay, so there's differences between plastics. There's polypropylene and there's polyethylene. Polyethylene is going to be really heavy in the phthalates, and that's the stuff that you don't want. I mean, it's the stuff that makes a man a girl, basically. So, you know, you want to stay away from that. And the reality is that stuff is in almost everything anyway. It's in your garden hoses. It's in your PVC pipes for your watering, in your indoor plumbing in your house. It's in your plastic bags at the grocery store. When you pick up that nice lemon in the produce aisle and you put it in that plastic bag, you just put phthalates on that lemon if it's not already on there anyway. It's just, they're everywhere. And so what you need to do is try to use less plastics in your life. We went through a big push years ago to de-plastic in a lot of ways, but you're never going to de-plastic in all ways. Most of these phthalates are inside of your women's cosmetic products. That's why women always have a higher concentration of phthalates in your body than men do, because women tend to use more, you know, product, you know, beauty products and things like that. But all that to say, there's very few phthalates in polypropylene. Stay away from the polyethylene, and you're going to be, there's a lot lesser of a chance you're going to be putting harmful plastics into your soil. Again, if you walk on this tarp right here, it's like walking on a waterbed. It's like walking on a waterbed because my ground is alive, because my ground is healthy, because there's living things growing and reproducing and eating and pooping and peeing all underneath that tarp. And that's because of the things I put in my soil. So as long as my ground's alive and I see that biodiversity and all of that microbial activity, I know I'm doing okay with my garden. Anyway, there was a lot of questions. I hope I answered a lot of those questions that was left in the last video. If you still have questions about certain things or things you see in my garden or whatever, go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll try to address those as soon as I can. I'm going to go ahead and get this mixed up. I have a bucket that I put that in. So I'll put some of this into the neem oil. It's neem cake. You know, I'll put some of this into this spray bottle here, okay? And then I'll put the rest of it in here, and I'll use that to water my plants. And again, this neem cake fertilizer basically gets into the uptake of the roots of the plants and helps, you know, make the plant resistant to insects internally, whereas the neem oil that you spray on your plants is just a topical application that gets washed off with rain. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. Links in the description below. Our Stupid Hurt shirt, our best-selling shirt of all time. If we had more hurt in this world, there'd be an awful lot less stupid. You can find it again in the links in the description below. All right, guys, see you next time on the Homestead. Bye! It's 2023, and the banks are continuing to struggle and fail. The bottom line on why our country is in so much financial trouble is that we have for years not lived within our means. Government spending in Congress is out of control, and government printing of US dollars has reached no limits. For only the second time in history, we have more debt than our GDP. That means we owe more money than our country is actually worth. See, it used to be said that the US dollar was backed by the gross domestic product. But when the debt exceeds that amount, it's no wonder why so many countries are now refusing to trade in that ever-increasingly worthless currency. That's why you need to safeguard your wealth. You've worked and saved your entire life, and now it's all at risk. Genesis Gold Group is a faith-based business that will help you move your assets into physical gold and silver. Precious metals have stood the test of time during economic failures all throughout history. Call Genesis Gold Group today and let them develop a strategy for your savings, 401k, or self-directed IRA. A strategy of physical gold and silver. You can call the number on the screen or visit them at genesisgoldgroup.com and be sure to say you heard about them from an American Homestead. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. Oh wait.